Okay, in this demo, I'm going to use Claude Code and Kerno MCP to run end-to-end integration tests on my endpoint, right? So the first thing is I'm just going to check the status of Kerno. It's authenticated, it's up and running, it's the latest build, right? So I'm going to go to my Claude. I'm on a Python project. I'm going to ask Kerno to list all the endpoints. So list all endpoints. And what Claude will do, it will connect with the Kerno MCP tool that is basically using our code intelligence tools to figure out how your code base is structured and all the endpoints. I can see in some of these endpoints I already have test cases, so I'm going to pick an endpoint that has no tests. So run baseline tests for let's say get users me games. So in the background, what Kerno will do, it will spin up your infrastructure, it will create a test plan, and it will implement that test plan. So it usually takes about a minute to run the first baseline test. But anytime we run a new change, it will test against that baseline, and it's super quick. It should only take like milliseconds. So while we wait for the test, let's see what other capabilities. So give me the blast radius of this endpoint to see what it's connected to. And because we index code bases based on symbols and files, it's a lot more efficient than just grepping. So when Claude tries to figure out your code base, it will grep through tens of thousands of lines of code to figure out which endpoint you refer to, which can be very inefficient. Because we understand the file structure of your code base and symbols and objects, we're able to stream directly to that particular line. So you can see here I'm calling Kerno and reading files. So it's doing two jobs for me now at the moment, and it's implementing the scenarios. And I can see here's the blast radius of this endpoint, right? So what it touches the auth middleware, it touches user resolution, so it reads current user from the token, it reads the game table, queries games filtered by authentication user, and also touches the game's user ID. So in the background, what we're doing is we're building a graph of your database. You can also see here it's a low blast radius factors, read only scope. So from a security perspective, we're able to understand that actually from an exploitability perspective, it's pretty low. So Kerno is going back now to do the original job, which is the baseline testing. So what we're doing here is we're actually running your infrastructure, and I'll show you here. So let's see, and there we go. So we've actually ran the scenarios. These scenarios are stored in a .Kerno folder, which you can commit. And let's just see here where it's cd. So run validation. So we'll call Kerno just to run validation. Now in theory, nothing should change because I've changed none of the code. So now Kerno is just validating that against the baseline, and it should, there you go. So I've actually ran the baseline test, which is your first test to understand the behavior of that endpoint. I've also ran like the blast radius. So Kerno actually understands your blast radius. In the testing, it has spin up your infrastructure, it's create different scenarios, and it's ran then against those scenarios to give you the baseline. If I change any version of that code, it will give me an update of what happened. So let's see what happens if I run this. Yes, and let's see then how Kerno will handle that. So calling Kerno, any changes made to this, all scenarios to blast. What changed? Start with creating. So it didn't break any contract. The test cared about if you want ordering explicitly started in the future. So essentially what I've done is I've changed some logic, but it didn't break any of the expected behavior, right? Which is good in this scenario. If you do want to check out Kerno, you can try it for free at kerno.io. It's available via MCP or CLI, so you can actually run it in any agent workflow. We also have IDE native versions as well.